Hello and welcome to DFS Preview for the 2023 Travelers Championship. My name is Eric and here at SweetSpotDFS, it's all about trying to hit the optimal lineup every single week. And in these preview videos, what I like to do is go over the stats I think you should target when selecting the golfers to put in your lineups. And I'll show you that through the bucket system, which helps us analyze the top 10 of this event dating back to 2013. Every top 10 dating back to 2013 tells us what stats are more important than others, and based off of this field, how many of those golfers you should put in your lineup. But it's not just the bucket system we'll be talking about. Oh, by the way, if you want to learn more about the bucket system, check the description of this video. There's a video link there that'll send you to where I explain every single little detail about the bucket system. I think you'll get a good grasp or a firm grasp of it just by going through this video. But it's not just the bucket system we'll be talking about. I'll also be going over the course and tournament information. I'll go over the past optimal and GPP winning lineups. Both of those segments are just data points for you to use when choosing the golfers you want to play, or for research purposes, basically. And then I'm going to review the US Open, because I want you to see how well the bucket system did, how well the sweet spot process did in general. That way, when we talk about the bucket system at the end of this video, as well as the strategy video tomorrow. By the way, I go live 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You're going to get a firm grasp, or you're going to have a lot of confidence using the sweet spot process, or at least a pretty good idea of how to narrow down your player pools to anchor around certain players. So that's what I'll be covering in this preview video. Again, I'll do a strategy video tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's live. Once again, come in and give me like 2 golfers to build lineups around. I use my optimizer to do that. Or if you just want to, shoot the shit, go ahead, come join me. I'm pretty active with chat. So that's all available for you. But before we get in this preview video, some quick reminders. I like to do giveaways, one being a weekly and monthly giveaway that I call the subscriber giveaway. All you need to do is be subscribed and comment on any of my videos. I just require your participation. Per video that you comment on, you're going to get an entry not only into the weekly giveaway, but the monthly giveaway that you see on the screen. Now, I run the weekly giveaways in these preview videos every single Monday. I run the monthly giveaway the first Monday of the next month. Now, all of your entries for the weekly giveaways that I run automatically go into the monthly giveaway. So your participation never goes unnoticed. I want you to understand that. It never goes unnoticed. I'm going to put you in the drawing for the weekly as well as the monthly giveaway to give you a chance just to get something back. I appreciate you being here, watching. If you're not subscribed, highly encourage you guys to subscribe. That way, again, I can basically reward you for participating on this channel. So again, all you got to do is be subscribed, comment down below. I put out about 6 videos a week. If you comment on all 6 of those videos, you get 6 entries into the weekly giveaway. And then obviously that goes towards the monthly giveaway as well. Without further ado, I'm going to show you what that looks like. We're going to run giveaways right now. So I put it on a spreadsheet. I have a randomizer that gets in here. I'll show you how that works. But I had 51 participants on all the videos that I put out there. Some of these being repeat users, which, hey, I obviously appreciate the hell out of you guys for constantly coming on and commenting on my videos. So 51 total entries. Again, if you want the chance to win $5 a week, I forgot to mention that, $5 a week, or possibly $50 a month, participate on the channel. So our winner for the $5 giveaway, MFN. I think that's how the name is supposed to be. He's the guy that comes in during the live chats and drops jokes. So if you're paying attention to this, you need to reach out to me. Reach out to me either on Twitter, reach out to me right there, SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. Reach out to me some way and let me know where I can send you $5. Whether that's Google Pay, I don't do Apple Pay, Google Pay, PayPal, Venmo. We'll figure something out. I can get you $5 one way or the other, but he's a first-time winner, or he or she. I'm not sure, the gender, but MF and congratulations. Again, this will go right to the monthly subscriber. So I have a total of 93 entries already. You can see the Canadian Open as well as the Memphis review, and then going right down into the US Open as well as the Canadian review. So that's what we look like. That's what it's looking like for the monthly giveaway next month. I think we've got, what, 2 weeks? Yeah, we got 2 more weeks that we can add entries to that monthly giveaway. So again, if you want entries into this giveaway, and by the way, last monthly giveaway winner, I'm pretty sure, only put 1 entry in. So if you think you're behind the 8 ball, you're not. It's a randomizer. Anyone can win. So congratulations to MFN. Reach out to me once again, get you $5. Again, we'll figure it out where to send it. Not only do I do that, subscriber giveaway, but there's also prize picks. I hit the wrong button. Prize picks. If you check the description of this video, I have a link that gets you to the prize picks page. If you sign up, if you go to that page and then hit the sign up button, the SweetSpot promo code will already populate in that promo code. If you use that while signing up and then you put $20 in your account, I'm going to give you $20 back. Now, you don't have to put $20 in. You can put more than that because prize picks will match your deposit up to $100. So if you want additional funds, go ahead and deposit more than just $20. But if you put 20 bucks in your account, guess what? I'm going to give you $20 back. That means you're playing prize picks for free and you're going to have $40 in your account. And every Friday, I always mention this when I talk about this, every Friday, they have a protected flex that you can make a 4-pick, a 5-pick, or even a 6-pick. I think they're just supposed to be called picks. You can't call them parlays or anything like that. But if you have, or if you do that every Friday, it's protected. So put 20 bucks down on any of those types of selections. And if you don't win any money, you get your $20 back. It's a fun way to have a little, skin in the game, if you want to call it that, and a good chance to win money, especially if you're really good at it. So again, check the description of this video for a link that gets you to that sign up page. I also like to provide a cheat sheet. There's also a link in the description for that. If you click that link, you're going to get to this page right here. This has the dream sheet on there. It also has the bucket system on here. I update this every Monday before I create these preview videos. This has all the information that I will cover in the preview as well as the strategy video. Again, I do that live, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you want to come join the chat, ask me some questions, check me out tomorrow at 8 p.m. Otherwise, this information for you, if you're watching anything on replay, if you're watching this preview video, you can use this as I go throughout this video and I use the sheet. You can follow along with me. You have access to the filters that are on this cheat sheet, but you can also go to File and make a copy. If you go to File, make a copy, you can alter this however you'd like. And if you have any issues using the filters without making a copy will eliminate those issues. So again, if you want access to this, check the link in the description below. And if you want to follow along with me, I will make it a point to let you know how to use the cheat sheet as I'm going throughout this video. But it's pretty self-explanatory and has all the pieces of information that I go over. So it's all right at your fingertips. If you want to use this, be my guest. I encourage it. So this is available to you. I will also have a cheat sheet or an optimizer as well. So I'll just show you what that looks like. This is from last week's US Open. I usually use this to find out what the optimizer is the week after or the following week. So it looks like this. It includes all of the bucket criteria that I usually cover in both the preview and strategy video. It has your salaries up here. It has your full DraftKings slate, basically, or the golfers that are on the DraftKings slate. All right here with the salaries, the metric that I use, all of the other information. We'll cover this tomorrow in the strategy video, but this could be yours, or you could use this, I should say, by being subscribed to this channel, commenting down below on any of my videos, and then reaching out to me at SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. I think it's the next little slide. Yeah, right there. Contact me there. Letting me know you would like to use the optimizer, and I will send it to you. Now, there's a caveat to this. I update this, or it's not ready until the PGA Tour provides the tee times. I need the tee times to complete this. Otherwise, basically, I'm sending you an incomplete optimizer. It will still run you lineups, but then you don't have all the information that I, provide. And again, it's not just the optimizer. You have a place to keep track of your lineups. You can see how many combinations of golfers that you create in case you want to keep track of that. I have this nice contest sheet that you can actually keep track of where to put your lineups. And if you hit this randomize button, whatever you save on the lineups page will just get put in here randomly. So if you're one of those that has a little superstition to you, or you just want to randomize your lineups, you don't even want to have any bias whatsoever, this is a good tool for that. I also provide the dream sheet here, as well as the bucket system. And then I also have an ownership page that I just figure out what my exposure levels are based off of the buckets and salaries and stuff like that. So this is also available to you if you want it. I was gonna say if you so choose to, if you want it. And again, be subscribed, comment down below on any of my videos, and reach me at SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com, and it's yours. Okay. Little longer than usual to get through here. Let's go ahead and get to the first thing that I like to talk about when it comes to these previews, and that's the course and tournament information. When it comes to the course and tournament information for the Travelers Championship, the first thing I like to do on all my preview videos, the first thing I like to do on most of the beginning of every week is go to the GCSAA. You can see that up here, .org. Go to the tournament fact sheets just to see how the tournament is set up, what kind of statistics come with this golf course. These are all data points you can use in your research. So you can see Travelers Championship, TPC River Highlands. My data goes back to 2013. Since 2013, this golf course has been in use for the Travelers Championship. So we have course history. Depending on how far back you want to go, I imagine this golf course has been used for a really long time, and especially for the Travelers Championship. This is in Cromwell, Connecticut. You can use the Northeast region of the United States as a research or a data point for research. By all means, do so. More often than not, you're going to hear the Keegan Bradley, narrative. He plays really good in the Northeast. This is obviously a Northeast golf course, so load up on all your Keegan Bradley lineups. But the things that I really care about really come down to the turf grass that you see right here. There's always this good information with course statistics. You can see how many, holes of water in play, the yardage of this golf course, the par. But for me, it always comes down to turf grass. So I want to see what the greens are. I want to see what the approaches are, what the rough is. And again, if you have a website that you like to go to use this as researching purposes, it's bent grass and POA on the greens, bent grass and POA on the collars, bent grass and POA on approaches. So basically, you can use bent grass and POA as your research tools, as your data points. Now, there's one other piece of information, and it really only applies to certain architects. This architect is Pete Dye. Pete Dye, I think you just put in your research regardless, because he creates golf courses that are unique, that certain golfers have either a good track record or a bad track record. Those that play it often understand kind of the nuances that Pete Dye creates in his golf courses. I would use that as a data point. I don't know which one is more important. To me, it's a coin flip between the architect and the turf grass. Now, personally, when you listen to some of the PGA Tour players, they talk about it being bent grass. They never refer to the POA on the greens or anything like that. So, and this goes back years. I think I've heard Kevin Streelman talk about it, and he's done pretty well here. He talks about it being bent grass. So I like to use bent grass, and you're going to see that in the cheat sheet, by the way. If you're watching the course and tournament information segment and you didn't hear what I said in the preview video about being able to use the cheat sheet, check the description of this video. This is my cheat sheet, and what I am using for grass stats are overall bent. So bent grass is the first kind of course fit grass that I'm using, and then I'm using Pete Dye results. And I think this is probably the best way to go about it. If you want to include POA in your, any of the sites that you use, by all means do so. It's just, I really limit it to 2. It makes life easy for me when it comes to updating the spreadsheet, every single week. So I'm using Bentgrass and Bentgrass and Pete Dye. Basically average finishing positions. My data again goes back to 2013. So we have overall Bentgrass finishing positions, top 10 success rates. Then I'm also looking at 1 full year's worth of Bentgrass going back from this date to last year's date. And I'm also doing the same thing for Pete Dye. Again, goes back to 2013, overall average finishing position, top 10 success rates, and again, 1 full year's worth of Pete Dye finishes. So you can see that on the cheat sheet. That's how that's basically what I'm using in my research. Again, if you have POA that you can use, by all means do so. You can see some other additional notes here. I don't even know if it's that important. But if it does intrigue you or interest you in using for data points, then so be it. Do it. I don't know if there's a way you can get too narrow unless you were to like bump up your weights on your models. So basically, I wouldn't, anything that's on this tournament fact sheet on your overall model, I wouldn't put anything more than 20 points. If it's out of 100, I wouldn't put any more than 20. You could use course history, but I don't necessarily use course history, or I don't include course history with these tournament fact sheets or just with the golf course in general. So again, yeah, I would limit it. I wouldn't get like too hyper focused on it, but again, you can use it to your advantage. So I like to go over the tournament fact sheets. The other thing I like to do with the golf course is kind of just go over the golf course in general. And basically what I like to do is map it out to see, which holes would benefit from hitting a draw versus what holes would benefit from hitting a fade. And the whole main purpose, because some people will look at this and go, no, that hole doesn't require a draw. It's like, I understand that. I trust me, I understand that. It's just, when it comes to scoring, like DraftKings scoring, if you want to win a DraftKings contest, you have to care about birdies and you have to care about eagles. What's the best opportunity to make a birdie on a particular golf hole or to get an eagle? And it's positioning yourself in the correct positions to do just that. Sometimes it requires a tee or a shot shape off of a tee to get you in a particular spot in the fairway, or just on the hole itself. That'll get you the best angle into the green to hopefully give you the best opportunity for birdie. So that's why I use shot shapes. Now you can agree with me or disagree with me. It doesn't matter. Most of the time, you'll hear the same thing from the broadcast, like, oh, you want to hit a draw into this hole or you want to hit a fade into this hole. They don't have to. These PGA Tour pros are really good. They don't have to. But again, to try to narrow down on the best scoring opportunities, I like to go over shot shapes. And basically, I say all of that to then also say, doesn't really matter what shot shape you hit here. Looks like hitting a draw off the tee is probably more favorable, but then hitting fades into the green, especially the last couple holes here, probably the best way to do that. And again, this is all based off of a right-handed golfer. So this would be a right-handed draw. This would mean a left-handed fade. So you're aware. But yeah, I like to go here just to see if we can find any kind of just, advantage to, what type of shot shape really matters here. Now we can also look at, the top 10 results or the results of the top 10 of every single year too, just to kind of get a little hint of what type of golfer, finishes inside the top 10 at this event, or like you can also tell what kind of shot shape matters. So like Xander hits a draw primarily. I believe JT Poston does as well, but I think Theegala hits a fade. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure he hits a fade. No idea what Thorbjornsen does. Hadley hits a fade. Mitchell hits a fade. Kisner hits a draw. Stallings, I think, does both, kind of. Harman's a lefty that hits a draw, so that'd be like a fade for us. Reeve hits a fade. I think McGirt hits a fade. Going to 2021, English basically hits both shot shapes, but he hits a tight little draw most of the time. I don't remember what Hickok does. Leishman hits a fade. Anser hits a fade. There's Kisner once again hitting a draw. Koepka hits a fade. Don't know what Lebiota does, but there's Harman once again with the draw. So it's a mix and match. Again, shot shape doesn't necessarily matter. One other thing we can get from here is the average winning score. So we see -19, -13, -17, -12, -16, -15. It looks like the mid-teens. You know, -15, -16 is a good data point to use. So basically what I would ask you to do if you were going to a site to look at which golfers do better on this type of scoring tournament, I'd plug in somewhere between -14 to -16 and see which golfers, or if you wanted to expand it a little bit more than that, actually keep it -14 and go up to -18. See which golfers do best in those winning tournament scores. And then furthermore, what you could do is come down here to the cut. I know you don't have access to this, but we can see it's even par here, -1 here, -2 here. Basically, you just take this number and go one less than that, because these are golfers that actually missed the cut. -1 in 2016, even in 2017, 2 under in 2018, 2 under in 2019. So it looks like it's like around 1 under, 2 under, something like that. Somewhere between even and 2 under. So that's another data point you can use when trying to figure out the golfers you want to select. So that basically covers the golf course. This is more into the tournament information. One last piece of information to provide is just the tournament itself. So basically, I like to look at strength of field rating. Now, this takes into account the OWGR, the current OWGR, although this needs to be updated. This is 1 week behind. And then the FedEx Cup rating or ranking from last year. That's how the old OWGR used to have their scoring system when it comes to strength of field. They also used a home course, boost for some of the golfers that are inside the top 10 of the FedEx leaderboard or standings. I don't include that in my strength of field, so that's why you're going to see this being a little bit different than other people's sites that continue to do the old strength of field rating. I've been pretty consistent with my strength of fields, so this is right up there. This is a very high strength of field, and that's primarily because it's an elevated event. Meaning, if you're for those one and done people, the winning, let me rephrase that. The winner's going to get $3.6 million. It's going to be around there. That's basically what all these elevated events are getting paid out. That's why we see such a high strength of field, especially following a US Open. So select the golfers you think are going to win the tournament. I know that's mostly what people do when it comes to these one and dones. But if you have a high name like a Xander or a Cantlay or even a Scheffler McIlroy, use those this week, because that way you get the most bang for your buck, especially if they win. You'd hate to miss out on like Rory winning this tournament, getting $3.6 million because you're waiting for another tournament or, any other of the golfers that are up at the top. There's no reason to wait anymore, especially and also understand where your league cuts off. The last week that they do the winner take all, or I'm sorry, the one and done. If it's at the Wyndham Championship, besides the British, I suppose the Genesis Scottish Open, I think might be. Say that, and this might be the last week we have an elevated event. And if that's the case, the British Open's the only other time that you're going to see a golfer make over $1 million. Over $1.4 million. Otherwise, every single event after this is going to be 1.4, 1.5, 1.2, depending on, like the 3M Open might only get 1.2. The Rocket Mortgage Classic might only get 1.2 million. So don't save anybody. This is like one of the last big events. So go ahead and use up your guys. We have 156 golfers in the field. The cut's going to be top 65 in ties. So use all of that as data points when doing your research. That's going to cover the course and tournament information. I got nothing else to say about the Travelers Championship. Let's go ahead and get into the next segment, which will be pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. We're going to start here in 2017 when discussing the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. I do not have a GPP winning lineup for 2017. I think I probably started recording them in 2019. So what I have instead is an optimal lineup and then a secondary lineup. Just to give you another, idea of how to build lineups. So in 2017, your optimal was Jordan Spieth at 11-4, Daniel Berger. This was their playoff that they had, the epic playoff. Berger was 91, Hoffman 73, Danny Lee 68. Bradley, we talked about in the course and tournament information, this being a Northeast golf course. Keegan Bradley does well in the Northeast of the United States. And then we have a $7,800 Kevin Streelman, who I also talked about in the course information, or the course and tournament information, because Kevin Streelman likes putting on bent grass greens. So this equaled 49,700. And just to kind of go over it again, that's a 10K, a 9K, 3 7Ks, and a 6K building the optimal lineup this week, or in 2017, I mean. Now, I mention that because what I usually advocate for is starting with the 10K golfer, then a 9, then an 8, then 2 7Ks, and then a 6K. And I usually reference that as a 10-9-8, 7-7-6 start. Now, you can make substitutions from there, but I think it's always smart to start there because we see at least 25% of our lineups that are either GPP winning lineups or optimal lineups starting with a 10-9-8-7 start. It breaks down a little bit, but it's either 10-9-8, 7-7-6, or it's 10-9-8, 7-7-7, or it's 10-9-8, 7-6-6. Those 3 different salary combinations account for 25% of optimal winning lineups. I think it's actually like 18% of optimal winning lineups and 25 to 27% of GPP winning lineups. So why not start there? Because everything else from there kind of breaks down to being less than 6%, less than 5%, less than 4%. Now, obviously, you can create whatever lineup you want with whatever salaries you want, but outside of 1 year or one tournament, by the way, dating back to 2017, we haven't ever seen 4 8K golfers in the optimal lineup, except for one time. Furthermore, we really haven't seen 3 9K golfers plus, like 3 7Ks. We've seen that one time as well. But it's always kind of, it's more important to start with a 10-9-8 or a 10-9-7-7-7, something like that. So don't shy away, because this, again, 27, we'll go through more of these years. I apologize for not keeping this till the end, but you're going to see starting this way is a very optimal way of starting. Your secondary lineup in 2017 had a 9K, a 9K, a 9K. So I told you it doesn't really happen. This is the secondary lineups, not the optimal. 3 9s, a 7, and 2 6s. That equals 49,300. That's pretty difficult to get to. But if you see that, don't be afraid to play it. In 2018, I did not have a secondary lineup, but I do have an optimal lineup. And this starts with a 9K, 3 8Ks, and then 2 7s. So very balanced, 49,200. That's very difficult to leave $800 on the table and get it right. But I'm going to eat my words a little bit here. That's a 9K with 3 8Ks. That also rarely ever happens. And our nearest 10K golfer finished 12th place, which isn't terrible, honestly. Could you win a GPP with this guy down here? Maybe. Especially with how, what am I trying to say here? How soft the pricing is up at the top here. I don't think that's the right word I'm looking for. But I guess, no, you probably wouldn't win a GPP because you would need an $8,800, $9,600. So again, I'll eat my words. Let's move on to the next year, because again, I don't have a secondary lineup, nor do I have a GPP winning lineup. There we go. 2019, I do have a GPP winning lineup. I also have a Sweet Spot Optimal lineup, because the Optimal left a lot of money on the table. Left nearly $4,000 on the table. It actually left $4,100 on the table. So this Optimal lineup started with an $8,400 golfer, 77, 62, 67, 95, 74. Just to put it in a different order, that's a 95, 84, 77, 75, 67, 62. That's pretty difficult to get to. I don't, it wasn't 75, it was 74. My apologies. I wouldn't advocate for that type of build. Don't leave that much money on the table. That's difficult to do. I'm going to talk about the Sweet Spot Optimal, and then we can talk about the GPP here. Sweet Spot Optimal is basically trying to include all 6 golfers inside the top 10. And that one goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. So you could either go with this 6K golfer or this 6K golfer. It would have all worked out the same. There you go. The 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 build is prevalent in 2019. Your GPP winning lineup left $600 on the table, and believe it or not, had all 6 golfers inside the top 8. That's remarkable. That's crazy. And that also started with the 10K golfer, 9K golfer, 8, 7, 7, 6. It's all these golfers that are highlighted blue. So there you go again, once again, 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. So that was 2019. 2020. This was the 3rd event after the COVID shutdown. Things were a little different. I almost, like every time I go over this, I almost don't want to include it because it was such a weird year. Lots of weirdness, especially with salaries. People were coming back from this big break. How does DraftKings construct their salaries? It's a little shaky. Your Optimal left $8,100 on the table. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't it doesn't make any sense. But you had a $9,400 Dustin Johnson, a 7K Kevin Streelman, 6K, 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 4 6K golfers. That's what gets you your optimal lineup. No, don't do that, guys and girls. Don't do that. That's not smart. It's just not good. Your Millie Maker winning lineup. We had a Millie Maker, believe it or not, and I think they did like 3 weeks in a row with the Millie Maker. They wanted to catch up with all their golf. That started with an $11,000 golfer in Bryson DeChambeau, $9,400 Dustin Johnson. Have these all colored differently. $9,800 Patrick Cantlay. Then it was 1 6K, 2 6Ks, 3 6Ks. So that's very stars and scrubs. 11K, 2 9Ks, and 3 6Ks. That's insane. It looks like I created a Sweet Spot Optimal, but for whatever reason, I did not copy it over or didn't create like a little thing here. It's all these golfers here in green. It equals 49,800. Okay. So let's see here. Actually, let me do this. Makes life easier. 49,800, and then let me also put down the points. Let's add it up. So actually, let me tell you what the salary is. 11,000, 9,000, 9,000, 2 7Ks, and a 6K. So it's basically starting with a 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6, and then we're making one substitution. We're bringing the 8K up to another 9 because we can afford it. So that's why we get 2 9Ks. The point total here is 669, which is nice. 669 scores more points than the Millie Maker lineup. That scores 656. So yeah, going with the Sweet Spot Optimal would have been your best bet. And again, that starts with a 10, 9, 9, 7, 7, 6. Going to 2021, we have an Optimal and a $3 GPP winning lineup. The Optimal left $700 on the table, and it included most of the guys here on the top of the leaderboard. Looks like you could interchange Brooks Koepka with Bryce Garnett because they scored the same amount of points. Kind of interesting. But again, this left $700 on the table. Start with a 10K golfer, a 9K, an 8K, an 8K, and then 2 6s. That's very interesting. I make the argument, or not so much argument, but I usually provide rules to this thing. Start with a 10 9 8 7 7 6, and you can make up to 2 substitutions. So how I look at this is, okay, we have a 10K golfer, right? Perfect. Check mark. We have a 9K golfer. Check. But we have 2 8Ks. Okay, that's interesting. How do we get to 2 8Ks? Well, we can sub one of our 7Ks up to an 8K. Perfect. So that's how now we have 2 8Ks. Then we should drop down to a 7K, but we don't have a 7K. We actually have 2 6s, which is fine because then our second substitution is dropping that last 7K down to another 6. So there you go. You had a 10 9 8, 8 6 6 with your optimal. Your GPP winning lineup started with a 10K golfer down here with Patrick Reed. Then it went to a $9,100 Abe Answer, $8,200 Harris English, $8,800 Brian Harmon, a $7,200 Guido Migliozzi, and then a $6,700 Hank Lebioda. It left $0 on the table. Obviously, when we were grabbing Patrick Reed down here, finished 25th place, there was definitely opportunity to take down a GPP because this is a weaker GPP winning lineup. So if you would have started with Brooks, I mean, it kind of looks, yeah, the optimal lineup would have been your best bet, but you could have went like something Brooks, Harris English at 82, Abe at 91. We could also probably bring in Brian. Yeah, we could do the same lineup without Mark Leishman. So 10 9 8 8 6 6. And this actually gets you $50,000 on the button. So you could interchange Harmon with Leishman. That's a $700 difference, and that's $49,300 to $50,000. So that was 2021, and then in 2022, I do have an optimal, I have a GPP, and then I have a sweet spot optimal because our optimal left a lot of money on the table. $3,700. That's impossible. Like it's difficult to do. But the optimal did start with the 10K golfer, a 7, 3 6s, and then another 10K golfer. So just to repeat that, that's 2 10K golfers, 1 7, and 3 6s. That's nearly impossible to do. Don't try it. Don't try it at home, folks. Don't do it. Your GPP winning lineup left $100 on the table, and it started with a 10K golfer. Actually, again, it started with 2 10K golfers, Xander and Patrick, best friends. $7,300 Seth Theegala, $8,200 Keith Mitchell, and then 2 7K golfers down here in Matthew Neesmith and Adam Long. Just to say that differently, that is 2 10Ks, an 8K, and 3 7Ks. So if you think about the 2 substitutions, you can still do that, right? So we go a 10. It's like, okay, well, I guess we sub one of our 9s up to a 10. So that's 1 substitution. And then we do have our 8K golfer and Keith Mitchell, so we don't have to make any substitutions there. And then we have our 2 7K golfers down here. So there we go. We only made 1 substitution. We should have another 6K golfer, right? No, we have a 7K golfer. Well, we can make up to 2 substitutions. So there we go. Our 6K goes up to a 7. Our 9K goes up to a 10. And therefore, we have a 10, 10, 8, 7, 7, 7. Simple enough. I always like to look, does the sweet spot optimal beat the GPP win lineup? This scored 664. The GPP scored 604. So yeah, it annihilated it. And it was only like 17 points behind the optimal. So I do believe starting 10 9 8 7 7 6 is going to be your best bet this week, especially when we have such a there are a lot of golfers in the 10K range, and I'll cover that in the bucket system portion of the preview video. Well, let me just show you. I guess I can just show you here. So 2023, we have 5 10K golfers. They're all pretty spectacular. So I don't see. Personally, I'm not going to shy away from using the 10K range. I think I'll use it 100%. There will be a golfer from the 10K range in every single one of my lineups. And I would almost make the argument the same thing with the 9K range. A lot of good golfers here. We'll see. I mean, tomorrow in the strategy video, again, I go live at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be building lineups and seeing how well everything meshes together with the buckets, with the salaries and stuff like that, to see if we can start 10-9 or if we start 10-8. We'll see how it goes. But again, I'll be building lineups tomorrow in the live video. So that covers your pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. Again, starting with a 10K seems pretty standard, you know, up to par, and then going from there. You know, having some 7K golfers in your lineup is probably going to be beneficial, and also maybe up to 2 6K golfers. We'll see. Again, I'll do more of a deep dive in that at the bucket system at the end of the preview video, as well as in the strategy video tomorrow. Let's move on to the next segment, which is reviewing the US Open. Wyndham Clark is your champion. He is your US Open champion. It was a pretty interesting tournament. Lots of heat for the golf course that was chosen, LA Country Club. I mean, it's golf, baby. Like, it's just, what? Who cares? You know, Wyndham Clark, I had to get off Twitter, by the way. Holy crap. The vitriol that came with Wyndham Clark leading this tournament. Like, what the hell's wrong with you people? Wyndham Clark is such a good golfer. Everyone praises him. Everyone knows he's a talented golfer. So it's kind of cool to see him win. A deserving champion. Rory's there in second place. You see him. Scotty's in third place. He kind of, I mean, really, we could all argue Rory didn't, you know, play up to his standards, but I could also say the same thing about Scotty. Like, I thought Scotty was going to win this tournament. I thought he was in prime position for how bad he was hitting it off the tee with those generous fairways. Crazy. But yeah, it was pretty exciting. Now, I don't really like to spend much time on doing like a breakdown of who finished inside the top 10. What I instead like to do is go to the bucket system to show you how well the bucket system did at the US Open. So then when I talk about the bucket system for the Travelers Championship, you're going to feel a little bit more confident in going by the bucket system or the sweet spot process in general. So the first thing that I want you to look at, or just to give you an understanding of the bucket system, I usually like to project out how many golfers from each bucket. You can see all the buckets I have here. There are 36 in total, 36 total buckets. I have projections for each of those buckets. These projections pertain to the golfers that are in those buckets and what I think will finish inside the top 10. So basically, this first bucket we're looking at last year, ones, my projection was there's going to be either somewhere between 2 to 4 golfers inside the top 10. Well, there we go. We have 4. So this is kind of my check point is over here. So we had 4. And because that was within the projection, that's a success. Now, again, there are 36 buckets. You can see there are 2 no's. That means 34 out of 36 buckets were correct. And when we look at one of these no's, you can see I'm projecting, again, over here. Always round down with the minimum, always round up with the maximum, by the way, in case you're confused with that. The projection is 1 to 3. There were 7 that finished inside the top 10, and that's fine. Hey, sometimes we're going to get way more. It only matters how many finish in the optimal lineup, truly. There were 4. So that was 1 over the projection. So that lies outside of the projection. That is why this is a no. Now you can see this column here, which is SSO, means Sweet Spot Optimal. I chose, or the Sweet Spot Optimal had 2. Which did fall in line. By the way, the Sweet Spot Optimal, all the numbers here fall inside the projections. I like to create a Sweet Spot Optimal that follows the projections. And I always post it on my Twitter, by the way. If you're ever wondering where you can see that, I do it there. So you can see there are 2 no's. There's the 7K range down here. There were 7 7K golfers inside the top 10, which I thought was pretty remarkable. And then obviously with the tournament history, this bucket 2 for tournament history also failed, which is okay. We can still take down a GPP with the buckets, you know, with a couple buckets failing, but just to give you some more confidence in the bucket system, I think I'm running on about 20 weeks in a row where we haven't seen anything worse than 33 out of 36 buckets hitting. So it's in that 95% success rate. It's somewhere between 93 and 95% success rate. So the bucket system always hits, always hits. Now, one way to kind of compare how well the bucket system did, like, could it take down a GPP? That's the main reason that I do this every single week is, first of all, try to hit the optimal. But if you do hit the optimal, you're going to win a GPP because obviously the optimal is your perfect lineup. So we can review the optimal versus the GPP winning lineup, which is the Millie Maker. And then also kind of compare it to our sweet spot optimal. So the optimal lineup, I'm actually trying to think of how should I do it? How should I do this? I think I'll keep it this way. The optimal lineup scored 552 points, left $400 on the table. And your optimal started with $9,900 McIlroy, $9,000 Cam Smith, and then we dropped to 4 7K golfers, including the winner, and 3 golfers below them. Now, there's actually a 4th golfer. I should say there are a total of 7 optimal lineup guys because Min Woo Lee and Tom Kim both scored 81 points. And if you use their salaries to combine with the other golfers in the optimal lineup, you get less than $50,000 both times. The one here with Tom Kim, that's $49,600. You can see he's worth $7,800. Well, if you replace him with Min Woo Lee, it drops down to $48,800. Still uses 4 7K golfers with a 9 and 2 9Ks. So very interesting. Your Millie Maker lineup, by the way, scored 543 points. 543. Your optimal scored 552. That means there's a 9-point gap between those two. Meaning the guy who had the Millie Maker lineup is a pretty damn good lineup. That was McIlroy and Clark, Fowler and Fleetwood, English and Xander. Still follows the 2 9s and 4 7s. Remarkable. Now, when it comes to how well did the sweet spot process did, we take into account the bucket system, which was, 34 to 36 buckets correct. Sweet spot optimal follows all the other criteria. So let me go over that first, because it has to take into account the marquee tee times. And that's it, actually. It's just the marquee tee times. I was going to say something else, but it has to take into account the marquee tee times. And the marquee tee times, basically you select 2 to 4 golfers. Actually, let me explain what the marquee tee times are first. Your marquee tee times are the best groups that are paired together. The best golfers that are paired together in their groups. It's rank ordered from top to bottom, and it's all based off of the sweet spot score that I have for each of the golfers. The lower their score cumulatively, the better the group number. So our number 1 group was Rahm, Victor Hovland, and Xander Schauffele. They all finished top 20. But my rule when it comes to the marquee tee times, you select 2 to 4 groups and only 1 golfer out of each of those groups. We never pair guys up together. And again, I review this every single week. So our optimal lineup, you can see the little black tick marks here. They're all the golfers in our optimal lineup. And guess what? Neither one of them played together in the same group. We had Rory McIlroy in group 4, Ricky Fowler in group 5, Tom Kim in group 6, and Tommy Fleetwood in group 8. 2 to 4. We had 4. Another week, another success with the marquee tee times. That's why I cover them. You also had 4 guys in the GPP winning lineup that weren't playing together either. So Rory was in group 4, Fowler in group 5, Fleetwood in group 8, and then Xander in group 1. So it followed the sweet spot process perfectly. And then you can also see the sweet spot optimal are these green highlighted salaries. Those were in the sweet spot optimal. Now that we see all of this, does the sweet spot optimal take down the Millie Maker? It does not. It scores 541.5 points. The Millie Maker scores 543. This was good enough for second place. And oh, by the way, someone had this in the Millie Maker. I would love if this was a sweet spot DFS listener or follower. If you are, let me know. It'd be wonderful, especially if you use the bucket system or anything like that to build your lineup. That'd be so awesome. But yeah, it used $50,000 of the salary, so you left $0 on the table. Again, this was good enough for second place. I think what second place was 200,000, or I don't even remember how much. Whatever second place is in the Millie Maker. It's heavily tiered. It goes from $1 million down to like 200,000 or something like that. It could be 400,000. I think it's 200. But either way, Sweet Spot Optimal did not take down a GPP. It didn't take down the Optimal. Therefore, we call the Sweet Spot process failed for the week, but second place is pretty good. And it, marquee tee times were pretty good. Bucket system was pretty good. So all in all, for the US Open, pretty good. And that is how I review every single event. It's just to show you how well the Sweet Spot process did, because then when we talk about the bucket system coming up for the Travelers Championship, you'll have more confidence with that. Also, in the live video that I do on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, I cover building lineups, and we use the marquee tee times with the optimizer to build our lineups. So with that being said, let's get on to the next segment, which of course is the bucket system for the Travelers Championship. Let's get into the bucket system for the Travelers Championship. I need to hide some of these columns. We don't need to see some of this information. Basically, I'm going to go bucket by bucket, covering the projections that I have, or the projections that I think. Let me rephrase that. I have projections for each of these buckets for how many golfers I think out of those buckets will finish inside the top 10. And we're going to go bucket by bucket to see what those projections are. What I want you to focus on, and again, if you want to follow along with me, what you could do is go to the cheat sheet located in the description of this video. It's going to look just like this. Go to the bucket system and select the filter up there, filter views, I should say, and go to the bucket system. Once you do that, you're going to put filters on here. That way you can follow along with me while I go through this. So I'll put a filter on mine, and basically what I want you to do, we're going to go, again, bucket by bucket. So we're going to start with the last year buckets. That's the stat over here. Go ahead, drill down on here, clear everything, and go to last year. So we're just talking about the last year buckets right now. And basically what I want you to focus on are the projections that I have here. You're going to see that on your, or on the cheat sheet. I have this column over here that's unique to me. This is more of a beta version, I guess. Like, I just want to see how well this does every single week before I implement it for everyone to see or everyone to use. But basically, just focus on these two columns here. Now, in the minimum projection, always round down. Always round down to the whole number. So this 1.69 rounds down to 1. 0.41 rounds down to 0. 2.03 rounds down to 2. And then in the max projection column, you round up to the whole number. So 2.82 goes to 3, 0.68 goes to 1, and then, so forth and so on. But there's also one more rule. If the minimum is 0, the maximum's always 2, no matter what. Unless there's only one golfer in that bucket, which you can see over in this column right here. How many golfers are in that bucket? I have a count right here. So it's always 0 to 2 unless this bucket has one golfer or less. I think it's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. So the first bucket is the last year bucket. These are golfers who played in the 2022 Travelers Championship. Again, this is the 2023 Travelers Championship. So in 2022, of golfers who finished inside the top 20, how many are we projecting to be inside the top 10 this week? 1 to 3. And that's primarily because, well, first of all, we have 21 golfers in that bucket this week, where we normally see 17. Decent success rate, 13.64%. It's not super high, but this takes into account every single golfer that's ever been in this bucket dating back to 2013. The success rate is how many of that total numbers finish inside the top 10. You might be thinking like, well, that doesn't really help me. Like, you know, 1 year we could add 10. That's where this column over here comes into play. Frequency rate. So dating back to 2013, how many years have we seen at least one golfer from this bucket inside the top 10? And it's 88%. So I'm assuming this is 8 out of 9 years we've seen at least one golfer from this bucket inside the top 10. So this projection of 1 to 3, pretty solid. And then if I wanted to use a more conservative number for max projection, it still rounds up to 3. So let's go ahead and check out the bucket. And again, if you're following along with me, go ahead, put a filter on the dream sheet or the cheat sheet. Again, cheat sheet can be found in the description of this video. We're gonna go into the last year bucket. And by the way, if you're ahead of me, you took a head start, make sure there are no active filters filtering out your golfers. You want it to be completely empty, because when we go ahead and filter by this, you want to be able to see every golfer. So clear everything out and select 1. This is our last year 1. So again, the projection is 1 to 3. That's what I'm projecting to be inside the top 10. Of course, we reviewed the US Open. I showed you how the bucket system did there. 34 to 36 buckets were correct. So I don't see this bucket being any different. 1 to 3 is what I'm projecting to be inside the top 10, which is difficult to stomach because, well, we have 4 10K golfers that could easily finish inside the top 3. And $97 Tony Finau, $8,300 Seth Theegala, and then it drops down to $7,800 and less. Now, just the 10K golfers themselves seem pretty decent, but then you have favorites like Sahith Theegala, Keegan Bradley, and even Harris English. And also Brian Harman. Brian Harman's played well here pretty much every single year. He's got really, really good course history. You're going to have some of these cheap favorites as well, like Michael Thorbjornsen. A lot of people are going to, I should say a lot of people. He's not going to be like, you know, 10% or more owned. He's going to be somewhere around like 4%, 5%. But when you think about putting some of these guys together, like even Ches Reavie has decent course. I mean, he has good course history, 29.75. That's really good. People are going to think about pairing these guys up with some of these at the top. Maybe that's not a good choice. You know, if the projection's 1 to 3, how likely is it 2 of these guys here in the 10K finish inside the top 10? Maybe even 3. It's a good possibility. But if you can make an argument where some of these guys aren't going to finish inside the top 10, like you don't like Xander or Cantlay this week, Xander, your defending champion, by the way, then you can make an argument like, okay, well, then I'm going to go Scotty, and then I'm going to pair him up with Theegala and also Harris English. There we go. I got my 3 golfers. That's my max. That'd be fine. That's fine. If you wanted to do 4, I can see it. I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to criticize you for going to 4, but don't do 5 and don't do 6. That's kind of what the, what would I call it? It's kind of like the consolation of this bucket system is knowing how many not to take, essentially. Don't do all 6. Don't even do 5. 4 is questionable. Stick to 3 and less. And that's how I mean, I enjoy that type of thought process because what it helps me do is narrow down, okay, well, these are already, you know, some of these 10K golfers I was already going to play. All right, now I can be kind of hyper-focused on which 10K golfer do I really want. And basically also with lineup construction, you know, if say Rory and Scotty finish inside the top 10, if Rory at all beats out Scotty, more likely you're going to want to play Rory over Scotty. But the same applies for any of these cheaper 10K golfers. If they finish a little bit better than these guys, then you have to take that into consideration. And I fail to do that every single week because I'm like, well, it's Scotty, right? It's Scotty all day, every day. Well, we've seen this at the Mexico Open where Rahm was like 11-8 and then Finau was 10-7. Rahm finished second, Finau finished first. So there are scenarios where stuff like that can happen. I want to say also at the Canadian Open where Rory finished like 9th place or something like that. He did finish inside the top 10, and there really wasn't any other 10K golfers that were up there, but there was a $9,600 Fleetwood in second place. And then you had an $8,100 Nick Taylor winning the tournament. That made Rory obsolete. Like, starting with Rory lineups weren't going to win you tournaments, like win you GPPs. So again, finish inside the top 10. It's crazy how much even more narrow focus you need to be when it comes to building lineups, that you can't even put, you know, the only 10K golfer to finish inside the top 10. If someone just started with Fleetwood and then, you know, more balanced, they were going to take you, like they were going to beat you in a GPP. So that's always something you got to take into consideration. Now, I don't have my Bentgrass results up, but Scotty Scheffler, believe it or not, in 11 events, 11 events, he has an average finishing position of 5th and hasn't finished worse than 13th on Bentgrass golf courses. He also finished 3rd last week at the US Open, which were Bentgrass greens. How do you not play like 5th? Average of 5th. Insane. That is insane. What is he like? Yeah, he has the best last year Bentgrass stats, which is 1 full year's worth of Bentgrass finishes. 5th is his average finishing position. 5th. I don't know. It boggled my mind when I was looking at it. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then, oh, by the way, Pete Dye, he's not so bad either. It is insane. I don't even know. What is his point total over Cantlay, I wonder, when it comes to my model? Oh, he's only 30 points above Cantlay. So there's a good argument to have for Cantlay. You know, 10,200, maybe that's a little cheap, you know, when it comes to building lineups. So anyways, 1 out of 3 is the projection here. Now, I'm not going to go through every single bucket for each stat, but I just want you to understand how to look at it, because I want you to use the cheat sheet. Come to the cheat sheet. I'm showing you how to use the cheat sheet in the bucket system right now. 1 to 3 last year ones. You can see the other buckets that are underneath. This is how you read these. So the only one that's kind of confusing here is this one, the last year 5 bucket. This says 1 to 2. Remember, you always want a 2-point buffer. And we always round down. We always try to go further down if possible. So because this is 2, this automatically becomes 0. Although it's showing you 1 to 2. Still 0. And the only thing that would actually never mind. I was gonna say the only thing that would actually change my mind is if this number was greater than 2. But that wouldn't change it. It still would be 0. And if this was greater to 2, then it would actually be to 3. So this bucket is actually 0 to 2. And you have 45 golfers in it. So actually, let's just take a look. I'm curious myself. I want to see who's in this bucket. Clear everything except for last year 5. Ricky Fowler, Jason Day, Siwoo Kim, and then Denny McCarthy, who I don't mind playing, and a couple other interesting names. CT Pan, my boy CT Pan is down here. That stinks. I was just about to tout him like crazy once again. I did this during the Canadian Open. Love CT Pan. He missed the cut here last year. I don't mind CT Pan. There are some other good names here. So maybe it's not worthwhile to really focus on any of these guys. Again, the projection is 0 to 2. It's really close to 0 to 3. So if you wanted to maybe pair up a third guy, so be it. I think that's fine. That's crazy though. Okay, in my optimizer, I'm going to keep it at 0 to 2 because I don't even want to tempt myself for grabbing a third golfer. Okay, that's interesting. The only other like main bucket you want to be selecting from is this last year 6 bucket. Now, here's something noteworthy. The projection is 2. We round down with this minimum projection to 4 as we round up for this max projection. But I have this kind of conservative projection over here for our max number, and that's 2.8. This is not over 3. This is less than 3, which means it rounds up to 3. You remember the 2-point gap? I actually use that here, the 2-point buffer. So now what this reads to me is 1 for our minimum projection to 4 for a maximum projection. The reason I have these rules in place are because I've done this long enough. I know that there's enough disparity, enough to worry about, that we want to make it 1 to 4, keep it wide. And that's also to help us do our own research as to which golfers are in this bucket and should we worry. Well, it looks like, no, our bucket doesn't start at 9,000. It starts at $10,800 John Rahm. Then we've got Victor at $9,900, $9,500 Colin Morikawa, Fitzpatrick at 9, a slew of 8K golfers, like all of our 8K golfers, and then some pretty noteworthy 7K golfers. So although this says 1 to 4, I'm pretty confident in saying there's going to be 2 to 4 inside the top 10. But let's just keep it 1 to 4 just to, add a little layer to the lack of confidence I guess we have with this bucket. 1 to 4. From I guess all these 7K golfers, by the way. Let's just go from D tree up. And let's just find our weakest golfers. To me, JT seems broken. I'm gonna select him. I also think Cam Young to some extent is broken. He had a pretty decent US Open. Finished 32nd place. That was okay. I want to say Lowry is a good fit. Kim, I don't mind. Scott missed the cut last week, but dude, the guy's been on fire. Like, he's probably one of the best recent form golfers. He's 10th in my model. I'm going to keep him there. Love Russell Henley this week, so do a lot of other people. Corey Connors, I actually really like as well. If you're going to make a pivot from Henley, maybe it's Connors. Really like Min-Woo Lee. Don't really care so much for Gary Woodland, but I don't think he's broken. You could probably do worse. Really. So I don't mind him. I don't mind Benny Ann. Haven't seen him in a few weeks. Matt Kuchar, I also don't mind playing him. Ludwig, found out how to say his name properly. Ludwig Aberg. 140 you can see in my model. That doesn't mean anything. He's a rookie. He has like no stats to use. The guy's golf swing is money. I think he will be a PGA Tour winner eventually. It could be as soon as the Barbasol Championship. It could be as soon as the Barracuda Championship. The guy, his swing is really good. And if he's not in those and he's in the Open, then so be it. Then he's in the Open. I don't think he's going to win the Open, but I'm digging that guy's golf swing. It's really good. And the rest of these guys, I know there are certain people in this industry that don't like Patrick Rogers, call him a loser. I don't think Patrick Rogers is a loser. He's very good at $7,300, like a good value at $7,300. So is Austin Eckroat, Eric Cole. Like, all of these guys are noteworthy. And by the way, Sam Bennett down here, another noteworthy guy. 145th in my model. I should just give him a boost. Both of these guys should get a boost. I'm not too worried about that model score. This bucket will be very difficult to select from. These 6K golfers down here, I'm not too concerned playing any of these guys. We do have Carson Young. Kevin Yu, by the way, don't sleep on that guy. He, I don't know what happened to him. I want to say one of his last events was sometime in the springtime. So I don't know. I think he was an amateur for a while, or I don't know what happened to his amateur status, if I'm being honest, but be on the lookout for him. Vincent Norman, Taylor Penrith, Sam Stevens, lots of good names. Lots of good names. So this bucket's going to be really difficult to choose 1 to 4 golfers from. But yeah, that's how you would look at this bucket system. So let's move on to the next bucket. And that's the last week. So again, go to the stat column here, and we're gonna look at last week buckets. And I'm not gonna look at all of them again. We're just gonna look at the noteworthy ones. Does play in the US Open. By the way, every single year that the Travelers Championship has played, we have the US Open in 2022, 2021 we had the US Open, 2020 we didn't, but that was COVID. 2019 we had the US Open, 2018 we had the US Open. So we can use these last week stats to their true value. So does playing the US Open the week before matter? It would appear so. And it would well, I should say this. It does and it doesn't. So having a top 20 finish the week before is your best
bucket for projections. We have 19 golfers that were in that bucket that are in that bucket this year. We normally see 10, but this is an elevated event, so a lot of people from the US Open are coming to this event. Without the elevated status, it's still a 13% success rate and 80% frequency rate, meaning I'm guessing 8 of the last 10 years we've seen at least one golfer from this bucket inside the top 10. And if that's the case, then yes, you'll want to select golfers from this bucket. But it's an elevated event. We know a lot of the top 20 finishers from the US Open. Nearly 50% of the strength of field points are going towards this bucket. This bucket's going to be star-studded. The only other 2 buckets to really look at are last week 5s, which are missed cuts. So like your Adam Scotts, who didn't perform very well, that missed the cut last week, he's going to be in a bucket where you want at least one guy from. So we'll take a look at that one. And then not playing the week before is also another heavy bucket to select from. Not a high success rate, but a 100% frequency rate. And by the way, haven't seen less than 3 golfers from this bucket inside the top 10 at any given year. Again, this goes back 10 years. So at least 3 every single year we've seen inside the top 10. We'll see if that continues. I mean, we have 14 less than we normally do from that bucket, and not a high strength of field amount of points going towards it. So let's take a look. Remember, we want to look at our last week bucket and really just the last week one. So make sure there are no other filters that are active. And then we clear everyone out of the last week bucket and just select one. And going back to our summary page or the bucket system, it says 1 to 4. Well, that stinks because 2.99, let's see, does that actually go up to 3? No. 2.99 is actually less than 3. I know. Not by much, but it is. So that means the minimum, it goes down to 1. I mean, this is 1.99, so it's automatically going to go down to 1, but this further proves that it should be 1 to 4 for a projection. So 1 to 4 of the golfers in this bucket are going to finish inside the top 10. Well, we already have a bunch of golfers that we already looked at with the last year 1 bucket. So Scotty, Rory, Xander, and Cantlay. The bucket that they were in the last year buckets, that was a 2 to 4. So I can say we're probably going to see at least 2 in this bucket, regardless of the minimum projection being 1. So I think 2 is fine. And I think it's, at least one of these guys. One of those 4 10K golfers will be inside the top 10. Now, will they be in the optimal lineup? I don't know. It's possible. It's up to you to decide. And by the way, John Rahm, he was in another bucket where you want at least 1. So very interesting. This bucket, again, projected 1 to 4. We don't have a lot of golfers in it, but it seems pretty top heavy. Like it kind of, when we went over the past optimal and GPP winning lineups, we were already talking about just select a 10K golfer and be comfortable with it. Select a 10K golfer and be comfortable with it. I don't think you go wrong with having a 10K golfer in your lineup. I think you have a really good chance to win a league lineup. You have a really good chance to cash. You have a really good chance to win a GPP using one of these 10K golfers. I don't think, I guess I already said this before, but I think I'm just going to double down and say 100% of my lineups are going to start with a 10K golfer. So I think it's pretty comfortable doing that. Now, whatever one it ends up being, I'm not sure. I'm pointing towards Scotty. And then if it's not Scotty, it feels like it's a Schauffele or Cantlay type of build, which scares me about Rahm. The one person I'm not scared about is Rory. I know a lot of people are going to overlook Rory. This is a short golf course. His, wedges, his irons, yada, 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 don't seem to be as on point. I'm in that same boat. I don't really care for Rory this week. But yeah, Cantlay, Xander, and Scheffler are my top options. Scheffler being my top option, Cantlay being number 2, Xander being number 3, and then Rahm being number 4. But again, this bucket is projected 1 to 4, so maybe you can find someone down here, 1 or 2 people down here that could fill out your lineup pretty well. I'm not sure. I mean, I kind of like Hovland this week. I actually do like Morikawa this week. Fleetwood still seems like a good option. Hard to choose, man. Hard to choose. So I'm going to move on from that bucket. We're not going to talk about the last week 2 bucket, although that's a 0 to 2 projected bucket. A pretty high success rate, by the way. So maybe don't be afraid. Okay, well, now we got to look. Last week 2s. Who is notable here? Finau, Matsuyama. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep it 0 to 2. I don't see anyone like I want to plant my flag with. 0 to 2 last week 3s. We have 0 golfers in the last week 4 bucket. 1 to 3 missed cuts. We have 34 golfers in that bucket where we normally see 25. We have a 90% frequency rate, so that's 9 out of 10 years we've seen at least 1 golfer inside the top 10 from this bucket. With it being this much over and this high of a strength of field, I think we're going to see at least 1. So 1 to 3, that's pretty solid. Let's take a look at our last week 5s. Again, missed cuts and withdraws, but there were no withdraws. Starts with Max Homa, pass. Justin Thomas, pass. I don't mind Sung Jae. And then we have Jason Day, which questionable. I don't mind. And then we jump into the 7K range with Adam Scott, Keegan Bradley, Corey Connors. One of these guys I think will be in the optimal lineup. I'm not sure which one it's going to be, but I have to do more analysis with these 3 golfers, but just by them being right next to each other in the salaries, being in a bucket that I'm projecting to have at least 1 golfer in, I think these 3 are my strongest candidates. We have other good golfers. Kuchar's a pretty good Pete Dye golfer. Davis is just talented. So too is Seamus Power, KH Lee. Don't mind those guys. And then it just kind of just drops, and I don't really have any feelings for a lot of these guys. But yeah, the projection for this bucket's 1 to 3, and I think that's solid. That's a solid projection. Again, I think it's one of these 3 guys, and then you just have to make your decision with the rest of them. I mean, you've got some really cheap golfers down here that can fill out your lineup, but wouldn't have that much confidence playing. And the last bucket we want to look at out of this one is the last week's 6s. Those are golfers who did not play last week. So let's see, who are our best options? I bet you my favorite CT Pan, most likely. So the top of the salary leaderboard is Byung Hanan and Steven Yeager. But now that I see some of these names, Ludwig Aberg, one of my favorites. Aaron Rye's not terrible. I like Dietrich. Don't mind Wu. There's my boy CT Pan. I could go back to CT Pan, no problem. Then yeah, it's kind of just wishy-washy from there, honestly. So the projection's 1 to 3. We could easily just see 1 golfer from this bucket. I can make the argument for 3. I like Kevin Yu. Seems like I know he's a talented golfer. I have no other basis than just saying he's a talented golfer. That's why I like him. Smotherman seems like a good choice on this golf course. Ben Griffin is talented enough. I have no issue going to him. Yeah, I see like this whole range here, besides Ches Reavie, I'm not extremely confident in. Harry Hall still has a pretty good bent grass profile. 25% success rate, finishing top 10 at bentgrass golf courses. I don't know. Probably not. Yeah, I don't know what to do with a lot of this. I mean, Webb at one point in time was good. Last time he went to tee it up, I think at Canadian Open, he withdrew because of illness. I wonder what's going on with Webb. I wonder if there's like a autoimmune disorder or something that has been plaguing him. There's a reason Paul Desori left him to go on Cam Young's bag. There's a reason we haven't seen Webb Simpson really play except for the RSM Classic. I don't remember the last time he played. I'm sure I have it in my recent form page. $6,800. Weber, Byron Nelson, and the Mexico Open. Okay, so he has played. Good to know. It just doesn't seem like I've seen him in a long time. Anyways, yeah, 1 to 3 from this bucket. So interesting names, by the way. Interesting names. Let's move on to the next bucket. Course history bucket. We do have course history this week. We have been on this golf course for a very long time. It goes back to where my data begins in 2013. So it goes even back further than that, I should say. Does course history matter at this golf course? Having the best course history has a pretty high success rate, 15%, but not a very high frequency rate, 62%. The projection here is 0 to 2. There are only 5 golfers in that bucket, where we normally see around 10. So just to give you a heads up of who the best course history guys are at this event. Again, if you're following along with me, just make sure all the filters are removed, clear everything, and just select one for course history. It is Rory McIlroy, Adam Scott, Lucas Herbert, Michael Thorbjornsen, and Nick Hardy. Now, it looks like Hardy and Thorbjornsen have played this only one time before. I imagine so too as Lucas Herbert. It'd be hard to I don't think Adam Scott has only played this one time. I gotta look. Scott. He's only played it once. Since 2013, he's only played it once. How crazy is that? So him and Herbert. Let me just double check on Herbert. This is my course history page, by the way, that I don't really show off all that much. Yeah, Lucas Herbert's also only played it once. So every golfer except for one in this bucket, and that's Rory, has only played this event one time since 2013, including Adam Scott, who is 42 years old. Again, this goes back to 2013, but he has a 13th place finish. So seems like he's pretty decent fit for this golf course. The projection's 0 to 2. Truly, it's 0 to 1, but again, we always have a 2-point buffer. 0 to 2. If you're making Rory lineups, I don't think you include any of these guys. Likewise, I should even say likewise. You're most likely not going to be creating Adam Scott lineups where Rory gets included, or one of these three guys gets included. I think what I'm going to do with this projection when it comes to me building lineups, because here's the thing. There's 156 golfers in this field. If you make a rule that says you're only going to play up to the max of one guy from this bucket, I think you let that burn you. If McIlroy and Scott end up in the optimal lineup, the odds of that happening are going to be extremely low. And I'm okay if that burns me, honestly. So I'm going to make a rule in my optimizer for myself. I'm only going to select up to one of these guys. I don't want more than one, just one at most. So that's what I would encourage you guys to do as well. Moving on from there, course history 2s. 1 to 3 is the projected there. We have 21 golfers in that bucket where we normally see 21. So it's pretty good. 100% frequency rate. I've seen at least one golfer dating back to, I think course history goes back to 2015. Being inside the top 10, at least one. 100% frequency rate. And success rate's pretty high, by the way. So a lot of people out there saying course history is sticky at this event. I would agree. Stats would bear it out. Xander and Cantlay. We already talked about them. They were in buckets that I kind of wanted to choose already. Like, I wanted to choose them from already. Then we have Hovland, Fleetwood, Sung Jae, which we talked about being in the miscut buckets. So too is Jason Day. And then it drops down to our 7K golfers. So the projection here was 1 to 3. Hard not making the argument for either Cantlay or Xander. But there are also really good names. Remember I said, was it Bradley, Scott, and English in one of the buckets we were looking at? Was it the last year one buckets? One of those guys would probably be in the optimal. So I could see myself creating some Xander and Cantlay lineups paired up with Keegan and or English. Or maybe just an or statement. Maybe it's Xander or Cantlay and then Bradley or English. I think that's how I'd probably write out that argument. Yeah, we'll see. That's kind of what it's shaping out to be, and I don't mind that. Okay. I'm liking it the more I'm looking at it. So anyways, 1 to 3 is a projection here. Then we have 1 to 4 for course history 3s. This is the next best course history bucket when it comes to average finishing position. And now we get Scheffler and Rahm. So the last bucket was 1 to 3 for the projection. Well, what if it's English and or one of those other 7K golfers like Russell Henley? I forgot the other 7K golfer we were talking about. Short-term memory is bad. Anyways, yeah, it could be something like that, where you only select one, or you select 2 of those 7K golfers we were talking about, and then you pair them up with one of these 10K golfers. Remember, the projection here is 1 to 4. And that makes life easy, because it's these 2 10K golfers. Then are you going to play Finau? I don't want to play Finau. I'm not going to... Personally, I just don't want to play Finau until he just changes his... Oh, I hate that putting stroke. I hate just watching him putt. I do not like it. The toe up. It's gross. It's gross to look at. Don't want to see it. It's dumb. And then JT's broken. I'm going to keep saying that until he's fixed, by the way. So if someone wants to be like, yeah, everyone's going to say he's broken. Well, he is broken. He's broken until he's fixed. So I don't care to be early on Justin Thomas. And then you got Sith Theegala, which, hey, I don't mind playing Sith, or even Siwoo. I think these are great choices. The projection's 1 to 4, by the way. So like these 2 seems pretty solid. And then maybe one of these 2, that's also pretty solid. And then we got to make, like, we could put up to 3 guys in the from this bucket in our lineups. I like Eckroat. I don't mind Rogers. I like CT Pan. And then I don't care. So this is kind of interesting. Like, okay, hold on. So I could do like a CT Pan. How about Sith Theegala, Scotty Scheffler? 10, 8, 7. And then we go back to the course history 2s. 10, 8, 7. And then, yeah, it goes Bradley in English. There you go, 78, 77. So I'm going to include these together. So we go... I'm just going to go with Scheffler. 11,300. Seems pretty solid. And I drop down to Theegala, 83. And then Bradley or Henley, I think that's fine. English. My boy where's my boy CT Pan? Come on, CT. I could probably put Eckroat in CT Pan. It's 49,400. I could do something like that. Pretty easy. 10, 8, 7, 7, 7, 7. That's not making your 2 substitutions. Actually, it is. No, you're not. No, we're not. That's not making our 2 substitutions. Who's our 9K golfer here? Anybody? Hovland or Finau or Fleetwood? Okay. Decisions. Tough. We'll figure it out tomorrow on the strategy video. I'm not going to waste your guys' time here. Let's see. What's the next bucket to look at? There are none. Everything else is 0 to 2 out of the course history buckets. So... yeah, okay. Nope, we're not going to look. I'm going to clear out all the buckets. That means selecting everything, not filtering out anything, and going right to our recent form buckets. So, 0 to 2 for recent form 1. That's the golfers with the best recent form, by the way, which I'm pretty sure you can already figure out who those guys are. We can go ahead and filter out recent form 1. Scheffler, McIlroy, Xander, Cantlay, Hovland, and Gim. Guess what? 0 to 2 is the projection. We already know we like Cantlay. We already know that we like Schauffele. We already know we like Scheffler. We could also make the argument of liking McIlroy, but we already kind of made the decision we're not going to. So with 0 to 2, Scheffler, Schauffele, Cantlay. 2 of those guys could finish inside the top 10. no problem. And I think this solidifies my decision that I already talked about earlier on. It's either Scheffler or Schauffele or Cantlay. I think I know. I actually know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to speak out loud because I can't tell you where I'm going to put all my contest selections. But when I build lineups tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, the live video, I will give a little bit more information as to where I'm going with my lineup builds. But they are going to include these 3 guys in one way or another. Recent form 2s, 1 to 3 is a projection here. There's a lot of golfers in this bucket, more than we see in any other year for this event. Rahm, Fleetwood, Wyndham Clark, Ricky Fowler. I wanted to see where CT Pan was. If CT Pan was here, it's going to be hard. I'm going to be hard pressed not to select CT Pan once again. But then there's Harris English and Russell Henley. There's also Adam Scott, Siwoo Kim. These are all names I've already mentioned that I like. I kind of have the idea of putting Fleetwood with Scheffler. That's kind of where I'm leaning. And I might even just, like I'd mentioned Theegala earlier. I might just remove Theegala and go Fleetwood here. Yeah, I could do that. That seems like a pretty solid choice. But I just highlighted 5 guys that I like. The projection's 1 to 3. 1 to 3 from that bucket. Moving on to the next one. This is 2 to 4, but really it's 1 to 4 because of our conservative projection over here. So 1 to 4 recent form 3s. And we got $9,700. Tony Finau leads the way. So 1 to 4 from this bucket. I don't like anyone that I see already. I mean, I like Colin Morikawa this week. I don't like Finau, but now that he shows up in another bucket that is worthwhile, I kind of want to. I do like Bradley. I do like Connors. Those are 2 names. Then there's Patrick Rodgers. That kind of gives me a little relief because I could select Rodgers from the other buckets that I was just doing. I was just looking at. This gives us our number here. That's 4 golfers there. So it could be... Oh, and then there's Sahith Theegala. So maybe I don't remove Fleetwood. Or maybe I go Cantlay into Theegala. Or Cantlay into Fleetwood into Theegala. Or Cantlay into Morikawa into Theegala. And I still can play all this. Oh my gosh. So many choices. Recent form 4s. This projection is 0 to 2. So too are the other 2. So we're not going to talk about those guys or golfers in these buckets. I'll leave that up to your own research. I'm going to move on to salaries now, or the salary buckets. We kind of already mentioned this type of thought process when it came to the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. That segment of the preview video. But let's see what it actually shakes down. And this is really interesting. So the projection is 0 to 2. Normally when we see tournaments that actually provide a 10K golfer inside the top 10, the projections usually line up with it. Like there's 1 to 3 that you want to choose. Sometimes there are only 4 10K golfers and the projections will be like, oh, you want, 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. It's like, how could it be 1 to, there's only 4. This week there's 5. And the projection's still it's less than 2 when it comes to, the max projection is 2. And the min technically is 1.02, which would round on to 1, but it's 0 because we want that 2-point buffer between max and min. So that's super interesting. In fact, we can just take a look at the salary leaderboard here. Make sure there are no filters. Select everybody and sort top to bottom for salaries. 0 to 2. You know what? I could see like Scheffler and Schauffele or Cantlay. I've already mentioned those guys. Like I want to play them. Everything is kind of pointing like they seem like good plays. I don't want to ignore Rahm, but I don't care to ignore McIlroy. Like that's fine. I can play McIlroy in one lineup, and it could be a winner take all that gets me my entry fees back. That's where I would play McIlroy. In all reality, I also have Rahm in my Rainmakers. I'm cool with just having Rahm there. I don't need to put them into, you know, a DFS lineup. I could just stick with Scheffler, Schauffele, or Cantlay and go from there. There's so many good lineup builds that start with those guys and use the other buckets perfectly, harmoniously. So I think I'll probably do that. So yeah, 0 to 2 seems pretty solid. 9Ks is also 0 to 2, which does not make me feel super comfortable because there are a lot of good 9K golfers, but also kind of up in the air. Can Ricky come back from his disappointing US Open? By the way, he finished what, 3rd, 4th? What was it? Muller finished 5th. Yikes. Still a good showing. Was leading it for a while. Wyndham Clark is your US Open champion. Can he provide a good finish after winning the US Open? Who knows? But, you know, like Fitzpatrick, Fleetwood, Morikawa, Hovland, I like those guys. I can't play Tony Finau, but he's also a decent play as well. So those golfers right there are pretty decent to select from. 0 to 2 is that projection as well. Going into the 8K range, it's 0 to 2 here as well. Not super trustworthy names. Homa's been kind of on a downward slide. So too has Thomas. Sungjae Im has missed more cuts than usual. Matsuyama didn't have a terrible showing at the US Open, but it wasn't great. Cam Young seems on the slide. Jason Day has his injury issues. Seth Theegala, I like. Shane Lowry, I think is, well, I was just say I think is a good course fit, but look at this course history over here, 72.5. That's not super great. Not super great on bent grass either. Okay, so that kind of, is he good on Pete Dye? He is. He actually has really good Pete Dye stats. 23% top 10 success rate. Pretty good. Tom Kim also does have good Pete Dye stats. So what is this? This 8K range is like Kim, Theegala, and Siwoo. And I guess Shane Lowry, that's fine. The bottom 8K range? Yikes. 7K range, 1 to 4. Pretty solid. And then 6K range is usually, these are higher projections than we normally see. 0 to 2 and 0 to 2, but this is usually like 0 to 1. And it's not even close. It's like really bad success rate, like less than 2%. And then not a super high frequency rate most of the time. But this is pretty good. This is kind of showing that you kind of want 6K golfers this week. And we're not going to go through the 6K golfers, but just to touch up on those 7K golfers, 1 to 4 is the projection. I already like Scott. I like Bradley. I like Henley. I like Connors. I like English. I don't mind Minwoo. I like McCarthy. I don't mind Harmon, Benny Ann. I like Ludwig. I could go back to Davis. I like Rogers. I like Eckroat. Eric Cole. I don't know. I could go back to Emiliano Grillo. Grillo, I should say. I like Dietrich. I could go back to Schenk. No problem. And then obviously I've been wanting to get down here so I can click CT Pan's name. Really like CT Pan once again. And then there's Sam Bennett, by the way. 7,000. So I just highlighted 18 7K golfers. Is that correct? 18? Yeah, I selected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 18. 18 7K golfers. I need to select 4. So that's where the optimizer comes into play, which I will be using live tomorrow in my strategy video at 8 p.m. So be on the lookout for that. One last bucket to look at, and those are our strokes gain buckets. So if you're unfamiliar with how I do this, check the description of this video out. There's a link down there for the bucket system. I explain what the strokes gain buckets are in great detail. So go check that out. But basically, if you're following along with me on the cheat sheet, all you want to do is first sort by salaries Z to A, and then strokes gained A to Z. You can see they're all color coordinated. Easy for us to use. I have 1 to 3 strokes gained 1 golfers projected to be inside the top 10. That's all the golfers here highlighted in this dark green color. We've went through some of these guys. Like, we really like Schauffele and Xander. Oh, Schauffele's out. Jesus. Schauffele and Cantlay. Xander and Patrick. Cantlay and Xander. Whatever. However, I like these two guys. I also don't mind Fleetwood. And then when I scroll down, I don't like really anyone else except for Rogers, Dietrich, and CT Pan. So this is a 1-3. Is that right? Yeah, 1-3. 1-3 projection. Yeah. I can see that. I mean, I don't mind playing someone like Sung J M. I don't mind playing someone like Jason Day. I also, like, I already made my case for Rory and John Rahm when it came to the salary buckets. But this kind of gives me more gravity playing someone like Xander and Patrick, or Patrick, I guess. I could do both of them. Like, we play both of them. That'd be simple. Or that'd be pretty easy. But man, CT Pan's just been too good to me this year so far. I got to keep rolling with him. The next bucket is the stroke saying 2s. That's a 0-2, despite it saying 1-2. So 0-2 here. Starts with Hovland. We have Hovland, Scott, Bradley, Minwoo Lee. A lot of good names, by the way. 0-2. So that kind of pumps the brakes for me on playing multiples of these guys. So, like, I do like Adam Scott this week. I also like Keegan Bradley. If I'm playing both of those guys, I'm not including anyone underneath them. And that doesn't make me feel all that comfortable. I really like Ludwig Aberg this week. I also really like Austin Eckroat. Sam Bennett's down here, like him. Svensson. I could get back to Svensson. Adam Schenk. There's a lot of good names here. So 0-2 doesn't, it kind of, what this does is removes confidence in playing Adam Scott and or Keegan Bradley. Really. I mean, I'll still play them, but now it doesn't really give me like ultimate conviction. Like, those have to be anchor plays. I have to play those guys because I could play any of these guys pretty easily. Next bucket, stroke chain 3, 1-3 here as well. And this one's going to be headed by Scotty Scheffler. Scheffler, Morikawa, JT. Yeah, so we already have a bunch of notable names. Corey Connors is up there. Russell Henley. Again, the projection's 1-3. So how many do you actually see finishing inside the top 10? You know, I really like Scheffler. I like Morikawa. And if I pair those guys up together, I get one more guy out of this range. And by the way, I don't really like anyone else. I'll highlight all the guys that I do like. Siwoo, Henley, Connors. Do I have a lot of conviction in those guys? No. But I wouldn't mind playing any of them. Benny Ann, Cam Davis. Really question marks with these two guys, but I like them. And then I don't really care. Then we get into our 6K range. A ton of 6K golfers. Carl Yuan down here, don't mind that. Kevin Yu also, haven't seen him in a while. So those are guys that I'm kind of considering. Same with Austin Smotherman. So yeah, I guess it kind of puts a roadblock up for me wanting to start Scheffler and Morikawa. I think if I'm choosing one of those guys, I'm not choosing the other. I might do it in one lineup just to have it in one lineup. But if if you have convictions playing Morikawa, maybe you don't add them with Scotty Scheffler. And instead, you can just use the rest of the golfers down here to fill in your lineups. I think that's a possibility. Moving on. Going to our strokes gain 4 bucket. This one's a 1 to... Is this a 3 or a 2? It's a 2. Interesting. So technically this bucket would be a 0-2. And even our conservative projection isn't even giving us a green light here to do more. I might squeak that to 0-3. I might slide it 0-3. And mostly because there's too many good names here. Thigala, English, McCarthy. Those are names in themselves. I don't mind playing. Putnam, Brendan Todd, Eric Cole, I guess. Hubbard, Hughes has played well here before. Griffin's a great talent. Does he? I don't think he's even played here. He has not. Okay, interesting. Maybe we pump the brakes on Ben Griffin. Chesson Hadley finished 5th. Oh yeah, not good course history otherwise. So yeah, maybe 0-2 is a good number, because it's like these 3 guys and then what, right? I don't know. I don't see anybody that I really like. Okay, I'm cool with that. 0-2 is fine. I think that's what I'll keep it on my optimizer. If you get the optimizer, just if you don't agree, just move to 0-3. Strokes gain 5, 0-2. Strokes gain 6, 0-2. Just to go over those really quickly. Matsuyama, Hoagie. This is a 0-2 bucket. Do you see any of these other guys? Yeah, if you took these 2 versus the field in the strokes gain 5 bucket, which side are you choosing? I'm most likely choosing this side. 0-2, huh? Hoagie doesn't have any good finishes. Matsuyama really hasn't played here before. Interesting. Okay. I don't even know what to make of that. And the strokes gain 6, you could probably just ignore. Yama really has not played here at all in the last 10 years. So crazy. Where you at, Matsuyama? Yeah, I don't even have his name. Is it under Hideki maybe by mistake? Nope. Holy moly. So Hideki's never played here. Okay, that's weird. That is cause for concern. Anyways, that is going to wrap up the bucket system. My convictions after going through the bucket system is Scotty. I'm either starting Scotty, Xander, or Patrick Cantlay. And then from there, it depends, because Victor Hovland and Finau were in some good buckets, but I'm just going to ignore them. Morikawa and Fleetwood were the only other 9K golfers that I actually liked. Again, Hovland and Finau were in some good buckets, but it seems likely that the best way to start would be one of these 2 10K golfers to go with one of these 2 9K golfers and go from there. I didn't mind Sung Jae being in some of these buckets for 8Ks. Thigala was there as well. And then I really didn't care for any of the other 8K golfers. Like let me back up. Siwoo Kim seems like a pretty good choice. I actually really like Siwoo this week. And I don't mind going back to Top Kim. So it's those 4 8K golfers. So if you want to start 10-9-8, Xander or Cantlay in your 10K spot, Morikawa or Fleetwood in your 9K spot, Thigala, Kim, Siwoo in your 8K spot. Was I even saying that correctly? 10K spot, 9K spot, 8K spot. Yeah. And then there's a good group of 7K golfers. So that's kind of how I see it. First look, first feels on a Monday night after going over the bucket system. What I got for you? I guess I don't have anything else to talk about when it comes to timestamps can be found below. I got nothing else when it comes to this preview. Check in with me tomorrow, either on Twitter or here on YouTube. I will post when I'll go live. It most likely will be 8 p.m. in case there's some other issue that comes in play. But I will go live 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Some giveaway reminders. Remember, there's a cheat sheet available. You can check that out in the description. Hopefully you saw that. If you're all the way at this point, I mentioned it a few times during the preview video. I hope you know where to find it. Description of this video, click that link. You can find the cheat sheet there. I also have a monthly and subscriber giveaway. All you gotta do is be subscribed. Participate on the channel by commenting on any of the videos that I post. You get entries for each comment that you post. $5 for our weekly giveaway. So I give away $5 weekly giveaway, and then $50 if we reach that sub goal all the way over there to the left. You see, I'm at 561 of 600. It's a lofty goal, but you never know when this train can take on steam. Get rolling. So there's that, and then Prize Picks. If you're not on Prize Picks yet, check out the description. There's a link for Prize Picks homepage. If you click sign up, the Sweet Spot promo code will be populated. You put $20 in your account or more. Prize Picks will match your deposit up to $100, and I will give you $20 back. So easy way to play for free, just by using the promo code SweetSpot. That's all that I have for you guys. So I got nothing else. Thank you all for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.